Hey guys, Dwayne here. Today we're going to talk a little bit about emotional flashbacks. Emotional flashbacks typically occur in the beginning stages of a separation and a divorce from a narcissistic personality type person. And they can be very traumatic to go through. And so I'd seen a comment where somebody was talking about that, I think on a different site. And it made me think about whenever I was going through my situation and the way that impacted me. Now, I haven't had that issue for maybe a year or so, maybe a year and a half, but there was a significant amount of time where it was a serious problem that I had to deal with, okay? When you go through one of these emotional triggers or emotional flashbacks, it feels very similar to, well, basically it is an anxiety attack or a panic attack. That means, if you haven't had one of those before, it's your heart rate starts going, you feel really anxious, you even can get dizzy on it. I mean, it makes you feel, you have a physical response as well as an emotional response to it. And it can be kind of a scary thing to go through, but unfortunately, it's typical, right? It is something that typically most of us go through when we're recovering from this. Now, there might be a possibility that if you've gotten to the point in your relationship where everything, the relationship is dead to you and you've left, maybe you might have an ability where it doesn't bother you. But typically, in these type of situations, even if we're the ones to leave, like in my situation, I was the one to leave, there's still that connection. You still have the trauma bonding effect and all the emotions and the feelings wrapped into it that you just can't erase overnight. Okay, so there's multiple triggers and they can be different for different people, but typically, and this is what it was for me, it's, the name popping up on the phone, getting a text from the person and boom, right out of the blue, their name pops up. Or you receive an email. And typically on most of the smartphones, if you have that nowadays, whether it's a text, an email, a phone call, it's displaying it right on the front. I mean, you really don't have an opportunity to have to go in and look at it. It's blaring it right out in front of you when it comes in. Similarly, well, not really similarly, but another situation that was common for me is even seeing her vehicle driving around town. And it didn't even have to be her vehicle. It could be another vehicle, the same model, make, and color, and you have this panic, like, is it them? Is it not them? And then a lot of times if it is them, then it's just like, it pulls you back into to thinking about them. And that's kind of where it's at, right? So you could be in a situation where, like, let's say you're right here and you're having an okay day and things are going all right. And one of these triggers pops up. It's like it pulls everything that you were trying to put out of your head, it pulls it right back in. And it's really frustrating. And these triggers can be, the response to the triggers can be very stressful. They take a while to get over, so it can also make you feel like there's something wrong with you, that maybe you're going crazy, and you feel like you're basically kind of losing control. The main thing, guys, that you need to know if you're going through this, now, see, there's going to be basically two camps on this. There's going to be the folks on the channel who've already been through this, who can go, yeah, I remember that. And there'll be the folks who are going through this going, oh my God, yes, I'm dealing with that right now. It's a normal response. It's not a fun response, but it's something normal that is typical whenever you're trying to recover from this type of thing. So there's a few things that you can do to try to help you deal with that. Now, if you left and you're in a new place, right? So there's not really anything around the house that reminds you, then like in my situation, when I moved, it was, a new place, a blank canvas, so to speak. So I didn't have any triggers really around the house, reminders around the house of the ex, okay? But if you're in a situation where all that stuff is there, get it out, have a friend or somebody come over and help you and pack the stuff up. Get it out of your field of view so you don't have to see it. Put it in a box, put it in the garage, or put it in a closet. Maybe move things around a little bit to where you can try to get some separation from those triggers. The other thing is, like for the phones and stuff like that, if you're in a situation where you can do this, you can block their number or their email to where it doesn't even show up. Now, unfortunately, if you have kids, that's really not a great option because you do actually need to be able to communicate some way to do it. And if that's the case, and when this is what I ended up doing, is you change the name. You change the name to something that's benign, that doesn't have a reaction. Change it to some other name, or change it to, I wouldn't change it to Evil X or something that has some emotion tied to it. Change it to something, like unknown person, or, gray rock, or whatever, something that you don't have a visceral response to. And you can figure out what works for you, and that can help you, right? So that even if it does pop up, it's not like completely in your face. Another thing you can do, and I did this as well, is you can create email rules if your system will support it, to where if you get emails from a certain person, from a certain email address, you can have it automatically moved into a different folder, and then you just look at it whenever it's right for you. Whenever you are like, okay, you've got yourself into a mode to where it's like, okay, I need to look at some stuff, I'll do it now. So you get to do it on your terms. Another possibility that you could do is you could create an email. You could either use the email you currently have that they know of and use that for them and basically take it off your device, or a lot of them you can toggle on and off so that way it doesn't pop up. Now, more than likely, if you do that, they'll end up figuring out what your other emails are and start using them as well. But I mean, it's something that proactive that you can do to try to help manage your response to it, or manage the opportunity for you to be triggered by it. And okay, so the reality of this, and like I said earlier on, is this is an actual normal response. It sucks. It's not a lot of fun, but it's normal. In my situation, like I think I mentioned before or earlier in this video, I had that type of response for about 2.5 years. I mean, that's a significant amount of time. I mean, now the caveat with that is that that's about the amount of time that it took me to realize what I was dealing with. Prior to that, I didn't know about narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, cluster B, or any of those things. So I was still trying to process what had happened to me in my situation and what it all meant, and I didn't have any answers. So I think knowing that it's normal and that it does go away, it does get better with time. I can tell you now, whenever things pop up, I don't have that same type of emotional response. But it takes a while. You do these things to help minimize it. You got to do all this other stuff too. I mean, you have to do the gray rock stuff. You have to do the no contact. You have to do the hybrid no contact, where you're basically going no contact and you're just doing the bare minimum that you have to do whenever you're dealing with a parent, when you have kids and you have to share information. You still have to do all those things and work on yourself to get to the point where this gets more manageable. And guys, it does. I'm here to tell you that, I mean, I had 2.5 years of hell dealing with this type of thing. If I saw her car or a version of her car drive by, I would have this visceral response, this physical response, just by seeing it. I mean, it sounds crazy. I mean, if we get it because I've been through it and you're going through it, and people who've been through it, who are at this channel who have maybe gotten a little bit farther along, they also recognize it. They're going, oh yeah, okay, I can remember that. And so take some peace with that it's part of the process. And as you grow and you get better, it does get better. It's just one of the things I've said in a lot of the other videos, and it's a drum beat that I try to reiterate on a lot of these videos, is it just the recovery process on this takes a long time. It isn't right. It isn't fair, but it's just the reality of this type of situation. You were so connected to this other person that you're basically trying to rip it apart. And because they're not able to empathize or they're not normal humans. You can't really get closure for them. So a lot of times you're sitting there and you're just spinning around in circles trying to figure out what happened and why it happened and why they're doing what they're doing and stuff like that. This is a really difficult process to go through, but you can get through it. I'm an example that you can actually get through it. Okay, so if you have an experience with how you've dealt with emotional flashbacks and emotional triggers, and maybe how you've gotten better over it, or are some tips and techniques that you've utilized to make it easier for you, share it in the comments below. If you're going through this and you're still having a hard time and you want to share your story, do that as well. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If the channel's helping you, please subscribe. And if you know somebody who's going through this, then you think that they could benefit from this, please share the video with them. My hope would be, like I said, my situation was 2.5 years. Maybe if somebody can get this information earlier on, maybe my 2.5 years will be their 6 months. So, all right. On that, I will talk to you guys on the next video. Take care, and I will talk to you later. Bye.